President Fattah al-Sisi received on Tuesday Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan in Egypt's Mediterranean Alamein city. The trip is General Burhan's first abroad since fighting began with paramilitaries in April. Presidential spokesman said that during the talks, Sisi stressed the importance of ties with Sudan on official and public stages. He said Cairo's stance towards Sudan is solid, stressing support for Sudan's security and stability. For his part, General Burhan said ties between the two sides are highly valued, praising Egyptian support to preserve security and stability of Sudan. The spokesman said the meeting witnessed the review of latest developments in Sudan and efforts to settle the crisis to keep unity and sovereignty of the country. He said talks also focused on the outcome of Sudan neighbors meeting, adding that Sudan's sovereign councils had welcomed it. Bilateral ties and coordinating to aid the Sudanese people, especially with regards to humanitarian assistance. Burhan is accompanied by Intelligence Chief Ahmed Ibrahim Mufaddal and Interim Foreign Minister Ali Al-Sadiq. Egypt has constantly exerted its utmost efforts to contain Sudanese crisis and preserve stability and security in the brotherly country within the framework of Egyptian foreign policy and its constance. Egypt has also affirmed its keenness on Sudan's unity, security, territorial integrity, and stability of its people. Details follow.
Since the outbreak of the Sudanese crisis in the 15th of April 2023, Egypt has exerted its utmost efforts to contain the crisis and stop the bloodshed of the Sudanese people within the framework of Egyptian foreign policy and its constance. These are represented in the stability and unity of Sudan, non-interference in its internal affairs, the safety of its brotherly people, and the provision of all possible assistance to it, as well as preserving Egyptian national security, starting with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's keenness and emphasis on diffusing the crisis and his contacts with all Sudanese, African, Arab, and international parties, as well as the movements of the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Immigration in coordination with other institutions to address the crisis and its consequences for the Egyptian community in Sudan. Egypt has also affirmed its keenness on Sudan's unity, security, territorial integrity, and stability of its people, and the importance of reaching a permanent and comprehensive settlement to the conflict as soon as possible. In this, President Sisi made several contacts with his counterparts in Africa. On May 21, 2023, Egypt welcomed the signing of the Sudanese parties participating in the Jeddah talks of a one-week arms agreement. On May 9, 2023, President El-Sisi received the Lieutenant General to Glock advisor to the President of the Republic of South Sudan for Security Affairs. The President received a message from his brother, President Salva Kiir, on ways to enhance the distinguished bilateral relations between the two countries, in addition to review developments in the situation of Sudan and consult on efforts to settle the crisis in order to preserve the safety and security of the brotherly Sudan people. On May 3, 2023, President El-Sisi received a high-ranking delegation from the U.S. House of Representatives, headed by Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy. The meeting witnessed discussions about developments on the regional scene and the crisis the region is going through, especially with regard to recent developments in Sudan, where the President stressed the importance of intensifying efforts to reach political solutions to the existing crisis in a manner that preserves the unity of the states and preserves the capabilities of their peoples and prevents sliding towards chaos and destruction, pointing to Egypt's exertion of maximum effort to advance the path of peaceful political dialogue in brotherly Sudan, a ceasefire, and protection of civilians of the humanitarian consequences of the conflict. On the 30th of April 2023, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi met with Fumio Kishida, the Prime Minister of Japan, where it was agreed with regard to Sudan on the necessity of achieving and stabilizing the ceasefire, advancing political dialogue efforts, and completing the transitional phase. As the Japanese Prime Minister appreciated in this regard the assistance provided by Egypt for the evacuation of Japanese nationals from Sudan, extending its sincere condolences to the Egyptian government and people for the martyrdom of a member of the Egyptian diplomatic mission in Khartoum while performing his duty. And on the 27th of April 2023, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received Karl Nehammer, Federal Chancellor of the Republic of Austria. The meeting witnessed the discussion of regional and international files and issues of mutual interest, especially the situation in Sudan. And on the 26th of April 2023, President el-Sisi also received a phone call from Mr. Charles Michel, President of the European Council. The call dealt with developments in the situation of Sudan, where the President of the European Council expressed deep concern about the deteriorating political security and humanitarian situation and its impact on civilians and foreign communities, noting the importance of the role played by Egypt to advance efforts to reach a ceasefire and calm the situation in Sudan. And the President affirmed Egypt's full support for the brotherly Sudanese people in the serious crisis they are going through, and presented his sovereignty with developments in the efforts undertaken by Egypt to reduce the escalation and reaching a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire in the context it is making in this regard with the actors at all levels regionally and internationally. In this context, President el-Sisi stressed the importance of intensifying efforts to activate the political track and peaceful dialogue in a way that pushes towards the return of stability and security and takes into account the supreme interests of the brotherly Sudanese people. On the 23rd of April 2023, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak, in which the call dealt with discussing the developments of the Sudanese crisis and coordinating efforts between the two countries in this regard, as the British Prime Minister noted that the role of Egypt is essential in maintaining peaceful and security at the regional level, in addition to being one of the most important active neighboring countries in Sudan, in which the current crisis represents a serious challenge to stability in the entire region, and the two leaders expressed grave concern about the escalation of violence and fighting in Sudan, which exposes civilians to great dangers and increasing, while addressing in this regard the effects to evacuate the nationals of the two countries from Sudan. The two leaders expressed hope that dialogue and political track aiming at sparing Sudan the catastrophic consequences of the conflict on its stability and the capabilities of its people.
A party dubbed the Gil, or the Will of a Generation, said all its members and MPs have expressed full support to President Sisi in the upcoming presidential elections. It said its support stems from a desire to achieve aspirations of Egyptian people and continue with the development path. It said its stance reflects its aims for facing challenges to Egyptians and support for continuing peace and security through the solidarity of the people and armed forces, police and judiciary, and the media. The third ministerial meeting hosted by Cairo over the past 2 days on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam concluded on Monday. The Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation announced in a statement that the meeting, which brought together Cairo, Addis Ababa and Khartoum, did not witness tangible changes in Ethiopia's stance. The statement said Cairo will continue with its relentless efforts to reach a legal and obligatory deal over the filling and operation of the dam, a way that protects Egyptian interests and water security and preserves interests of the three countries. The statement said to achieve these aims, all parties must adopt a comprehensive vision that protects national interests and achieves welfare of all. Scores of Israeli occupation settlers broke into Al-Aqsa Mosque compound under heavy